The opinions, views, and beliefs expressed are those of our guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Mindful Trinity or the policies of the company thereof. The content of the show does not constitute any legal or medical advice and is provided for the general insight and guidance. If you require specific legal, medical, or any professional advice, you should contact a specialist or a qualified practitioner. Please note, Mindful Trinity is a non-religious, non-sectarian organization, and we are not affiliated to any religious organization.
Astrology wasn't even available to the layman. It wasn't. It used to be known by these really learned men and women. They were rishis and whose access mostly was there only to the kings and the queens. And why they used to approach these people for, let's say, even prediction, was to say that what is going to be the possible weather situation in the time to come, so that we can plan, let's say, for a famine or an earthquake or a storm, or that who are we likely to be invaded by, so that I can heighten up the security in my area. That is how it was used, to strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
Not that if I will get married to the queen of Rajasthan, tell me, or what remedy can I do to get married to the king of Jodhpur? That's not how it was used.
Okay, lovely. So times have changed as well, because I think people are using it for the wrong reasons now. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to our 8th episode of Season 2 of Mindful Trinities podcast, where we collectively learn, heal, grow, advance, and ultimately move forward together. I am your host, Vaishnavi Charan. Did you listen to our previous episode? We spoke on the power of gratitude, and I was on the hot seat for a change. If this podcast resonated with you in any way, please do rate us, review us, share it with other like-hearted individuals, because you never know who may need to hear that message. Today we are joined by a very beautiful guest. Her name is Neha Goel, and she's from India, from the beautiful land of India. She's a empowerment coach, a DNA astrologer, a tarot reader, and a numerologist. So welcome, Neha. But before I actually welcome her on the podcast, I just want to mention this. I love Neha's tagline, which is awareness is empowerment. So welcome, Neha. Please tell us more about you and also tell us more about your tagline. What does it really mean?
So namaskar to all the listeners and viewers of the podcast. Yes, I'm Neha Goel. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, Vaishnavi. And a little bit about me. I have worked for 15 years in the hardcore corporate world, that too in sales. I've worked in hospitality as well as media, where competitiveness and being answerable about the numbers that you get to the table every day was at the peak of it when I left the job. But that wasn't the reason why I left the job. I actually had very deep interest in esotericism and ancient civilizations. And luckily, I belong to the land of India, which has such a rich and a beautiful ancient, stories and culture that just that when we were growing up, we weren't taught the way as we are today. Now that the world has opened up to us, but that is something which always interested me, and I was kind of a rebel because I was also asking questions that why am I doing this? Why am I pouring jal to shivling? Or why do I need to go to the temple every day? Or why do I need to listen to this katha or have or have these particular fasts? So, as they say, right, even in our scriptures, that the right question leads to the right answers. So, I didn't really care if I was called a rebel because I guess you need to have a grain for that, which is when I think of it, it reflects in my astrological chart. It was always supposed to be that way. So, then I got on to it was a journey over these years, and luckily I got in touch with the right gurus at the right time when I was ready and I got my answers. Or I started to take these courses. Tarot is what I began with, and then astrology, because astrology is more deep, right? So it's like more of an information which you will never be have enough of. There is so much to it, as vast as the universe. And numerology, which is also the the play of numbers in our life. So when I started to, like, simultaneously, when I was doing that in my sales job and kind of started to utilize the wisdom in my work, it started to give me results. And I think then what happens is that the more you get into that mode of knowing yourself, the more you start seeing that where you can or you cannot put yourself forward. You start either uh, going towards, let's say, so for me, how it personally happened was that I started to move towards the kind of work that I'm doing today. So why was that? Because at some point I realized that I was very good at advising people. I was very good with resolving issues in the minds of others. I was very good with how, and it's a very good question that you asked me, that where did I get this tagline from, that awareness is empowerment. Because most of the times when I was speaking with people, uh, the only thing which I was, let's say, focusing on was making them aware of their patterns as to why are they saying what they are saying, why are they experiencing what they are experiencing, why is their behavior a particular way. And that takes me back to not just inner child healing, which is what happened in their childhood, but also astrology, as to what are the prakritis that their astrological chart says. Why is it that you are a particular way and I am a different kind of way, but we vibe in a couple of things, right? So unraveling those patterns and helping making others aware of their own pattern just somehow help them in empowering themselves, right? And which is what I utilized in my life also, that instead of looking at a problem as a recurring pattern or a recurring problem, that why does it keeps happening to me, when I went to the base of it, that, oh, this is why, and started to work on it, I became more empowered, because I was now not looking for answers outside. I was now not saying that XYZ person did this to me, or that person could have handled my emotion better. It became about me, and I felt so empowerment that where I am facing this emotion, which is kind of tough to handle, I have it in me to handle it also, because I can now see the patterns clearly. So that is where this tagline came, that awareness is empowerment, because I lived it in my life. So thanks for asking that question.
Thank you so much for that. Such a beautiful share on that. It actually brings me to my next question about awareness, especially when most of us are actually conditioned in a certain way. And some of it is actually not our fault entirely. It's because maybe we grew up in that environment, and whether it's actually a family environment or family orientated environment that was warm and caring, it taught the environment actually brought more love out of you. But what if the environment actually caused more heartache and more pain? The people that were supposed to be protecting you are actually the ones that are is actually inflicting pain on you. Now you're an adult, and because your brain is already conditioned like that, and the only thing you know is actually pain, and unknowingly or knowingly, you inflicting the same sort of pain on others around you, whether they're your children or your family members or your friends or anyone that comes in contact with you. The only words that you know is unruthless words. Your tongue is like a sword, and you only hurt people, but you don't intend on hurting them. You're conditioned like that. How do you break away from that? How do you heal that inner child?
Wow. So, as they say, there was this quote which I read some time back. It said that if you do not heal yourself, you will bleed on those people who didn't cut you. So when one goes through such a situation, they're able to, or in fact, they're able to inflict pain on others. And most of the times, those are the people who care about them,
Mm.
because no one else will allow them to hurt them. And as somebody, I mean, that is where the kind of work that I do, it empowers me so much, because astrology, DNA astrology, tells me that nothing which we have, even the family that we are born into, is happening to us just like that. We are born into a particular family because that is required for our soul's evolution. The kind of sanskaras, the kind of grooves in the brain that we require for us, and for our soul to take a step up, to learn a lesson, will come only when these people who are very close to us, because those our families, our first guardians, right? Those are the people who, as you said, that these are the people who inflict on us certain belief systems which either work for us or they don't work for us. So the especially the ones which are working for us, often human tendencies are such that we are not in notice of that, because it's not inflicting suffering on us, such as maybe that somebody who is born in riches, or somebody who was able to survive through an extreme case of corona and stuff. So we are, and that is probably why a lot of ancient cultures also encourage us to be in gratitude, that be shukrana, as they say, to be thankful of what you do have. Those are all that are coming from our good sanskaras, which also we get from our lineage, which also we get from our parents and the families that we have been brought up in. Then there are these other sets of belief systems which are very limiting, which are restricting us. It could be a voice of a parent saying that you will not amount to anything. It could be voice of the teachers saying that if you're not able to write properly, you will never succeed in life, or that if you do not know English, then how will you will never be able to communicate to the world outside, and that will limit you, and you're so stupid that you can't even pronounce this spelling, or write this letter, you don't know the spellings, etc., like just dumbing us down. It could be in any of those. So now what I figured, one, through the inner child, is to return those voices to the ones it belongs to. All that chatter in your mind, it doesn't even, those are not even our voices. So let's say if I am to come here for an interview, and there is a voice in me which says that, do you know anything to be saying in this interview? You will just make a fool of yourself. Now take a step back and hear yourself saying that, is that me? Can I trace it back to at some point when I was made to believe this by someone else? And then respectfully give it back to that person. Because the first time it was told to you that you cannot, let's say, do public speaking, or that you are dumb, that inner child woke up and created that protection for you as this voice, saying that it's better to not get yourself into these conditions, so that you do not keep proving yourself uh, uh, as dumb again and again. But as we just saw in this example, it's not even your voice. So just return it to the person energetically to whom it belongs to, with respect. And as I said that, uh, and that is probably required. It is probably required for you to come up and stand in your power, because that's a part of your soul evolution. Maybe you have lived multiple lives earlier where you couldn't learn the art of standing up in your power. So today, in this life, you got a parent who would question it, and then hopefully you will stand up to it and finally learn the lesson of standing up in your power. So that is how all of this comes together, and a sense of awareness is created, where it creates empowerment.
Okay. You actually made a very, very interesting point about when someone give you those words. It's actually very horrible words of where they're actually demotivating you. They are belittling you. But why would we want to give it back to them? Why can't we just release it and release them? Because maybe they are actually going through something. It's not about us. It's more about them, that they are going through something. And just to make themselves feel better, they want to make someone else feel less of a person. So I'm thinking, out of kindness, we wouldn't want to give the same words back to them, even energetically, because I think the whole point is to create a more of a healed society. because healed people heal people. We already hear the saying that hurt people hurt people. So why don't we just come together to heal in order to heal people?
Okay, that's a very valid question, and I'm glad that you asked it. Because I think one essence which I should have mentioned earlier is that when you're returning those words to them, you're not returning them from a sense of a vengeance
Okay.
or a sense of a grudge. You're returning it because see, they are responsible for their own karma,
Mm,
the ones that they spoke, because they also have series of lessons. You know, one thing which I always tell somebody who comes to me for an inner child healing session is that yes, oftentimes you forget that even our parents were children at some point. So maybe their motivation of saying what they said to us was not necessarily vengeful
mm,
or out of you know maybe they were saying it out of protection. Maybe they themselves have had an experience where people called them dumb for doing something, and they were in a process of protecting us. They tried to say that, okay, don't do this, you will look like a dumb person, right? So our shastras tell us that everybody has a backstory. The most villainous person also has a backstory.
mm.
So, that is the reason why we return it to them, so that it so that they can process it. Because otherwise, how will their soul evolution happen,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Very
And we
interesting.
do want their soul to evolve as well, because here we are living in a fractal universe, because which means that we are not living in isolation. I am connected to them, as in my parents and their parents, my parents to their parents, and their parents to their parents. They are not, no matter how good, bad, or ugly anybody's parents are, they are still uh, your flesh and blood. You came out of their energy. It might not be great. It might, in certain cases, it might be absolutely abusive, right? But still, you came out of their energy. So, in a process of releasing that knot, you know how it is that when something is tightly knotted, what do? You don't cut the knot. You try to you try to loosen it, and you know how it is, strings move back, and then they find their way to unknot itself once it's loose and the strings have moved back. So that little sense of returning it to the person is concern, and more so it is just reminding ourselves that it is not me. I am not saying that Neha is not telling Neha that she's dumb.
Mm. Very interesting. Very interesting. It actually makes me think as well. People, whether they're your parents or friends or whatever relationship they may have with you, sometimes they're not actually doing it in a place of malice. They basically sharing words that they are conditioned with. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess when we take ourselves out of the situation and we reflect, we're reflecting more with kindness and more of love for that person to heal and become a better version of themselves.
Absolutely. And a lot of us do not have any example of better versions, right?
Mm,
So today in the spiritual world, we hear a lot about self-love.
mm,
But you might belong to a family of people and surrounding where nobody is practicing self-love. Then how do we learn? What do we know about self-love when we do not have any examples? Which is where, as for the listeners, also this might help, which is where there is this technique in neuro-linguistic programming. It is called modeling. So, which means that look for examples outside of your paradigm. And today we live in the day and age of media. There are so many movies. There are so many people who might not be in your immediate paradigm, but they are out there somewhere, who are practicing self-love, who know that I often give an example of somebody like an Amal Clooney, right?
mm,
So she, so to say, she got married to one of the most dreamt of bachelor, George Clooney. But if you
mm,
really listen to her, she's a woman in her own power. She has her head in its place, and uh, she has the brain of standing let's say, like if George Clooney is the sun, she's the sun herself.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't mellow down because to accommodate this other person who also has a larger than life identity for the world at large. The very intelligent lawyer, barrister, right? To model. So, what can I learn from her? Obviously, I don't know her in real. I don't know if she is truly the way she is as it's being portrayed. But I would be selfish and I will try and take from whatever is out there on the net.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is the way she speaks. Maybe it is the way she dresses up. Maybe it is the effort that she takes to make herself more and more viable to the work that she does. Maybe it's a passion. So many other things. And again, modeling not to be taken wrong in a way that it doesn't mean that we start accepting toxicity, and which is where the essence of flexibility comes in. Also, discernment that I be ready to reject that which I do not appreciate about a person, which doesn't seem to be right. So, that over a period of time teaches us a lot of self love because we start accepting what we need and what grows us and starts rejecting with respect that which brings us down, which pulls us down.
Thank you so much for that. You mentioned something about toxicity, and a lot of the times, okay, I've mentioned this to quite a few friends that we cannot choose our families, but we can choose our friends. And one response I got from one friend, she says, I actually disagree with what you said about we cannot choose our families. She says you can choose your families. Of course, they already your family. You have already have their blood running through your veins, so that you cannot change. But if you are a sucker for punishment and you enjoy being hurt by them, you always will be in their association. Whatever relationship they have with you, as your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, or any sort of relative in the family. But if they're causing pain in you and causing more of mental health issues, then you should keep your distance from them. What would you say about dealing with toxic relationships or toxic behaviors in people?
Okay, so when it comes to the idea of we can not choose our family, actually, as I said earlier, that if you go back, we have chosen our family, we have chosen our parents because of the sanskaras that we needed or we did not need. But keeping that thought aside, I think in this context, what it really means is that, see, irrespective of whether I try to disengage myself from any of the close, first blood relation, but they are still in me because of, as I said, because I've come out of them. I've come out of my parents' union. So where I can physically disengage from them, but the blood which is going through in my veins, or the structure that I have, or the ethnicity that I have, or let's say the hereditary uh, memories that I have will still come from them. I can choose not to stay with them, but there is a part of them which I will always carry in myself. So, to that extent, I can't do anything about it. Yes, physically, definitely, I can disengage with them. And I can find a father equivalent somewhere else or a mother equivalent somewhere else. But that doesn't mean my blood will change in a day because I have found my. What will change is my environment. And yes, it is true. That is in my control. And yes, science has proven uh, there is a stream of observation which is known as epigenetics in science, which is actually based on the fact that you can, if you change your environment, activate certain areas of your DNA which might not be activated due to the lineage that you are born in. So the same DNA, let's say, which in our case could be like maybe you and your sister or you and your brother, has it in them to behave in a different way depending upon the various different environments that they are subjected to. So, to that extent, you have a control over your life, and which in astrology also reflects as what part of it is free will, and what part of it is destined.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, tell us more about that. About the free will, and what was the other one again that you mentioned? Yeah,
Yeah.
tell
So
us
in
more about that.
astrology, yeah, in astrology also, Vaishnavi, we have something which are known as fixed karma, non-fixed karma, and a mixture of both. These are the three kind of karmas that we have.
Mm.
Okay. So fixed karmas are those karmas that you cannot change at all. Okay. For example, I might move countries, but I cannot change the fact that I was born in India, right? Or that what else? Like if I was born in a particular hospital, I cannot change that.
Mm.
Right? So those are all fixed karmas. Non-fixed karmas are those which I can change, which I have a control over, which with my effort they can shift or they can move. For example, for example, how I speak. Now there are speech therapies and stuff like that. So, or let's say I learn another language, and tomorrow maybe I start speaking German. Who knows, right? So those are certain things that I do have control over. And
Okay.
then there are those karmas which have a mixture of it, which is fixed, non-fixed. These are those karmas, such as let's say somebody meets with an accident, and then the doctor says you will never be able to get up. And this person, with immense effort, is able to change that and is able to walk. But it requires immense effort, as they show in Doctor Strange, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So mixture is those efforts which, if you put an adequate amount of immense effort, you will be able to change those.
Okay.
And if you would think life is the sum total of that.
Yeah. So,
In
okay.
those non-fixed karmas and in those fixed non-fixed karmas, there you have a little scope of free will choice, that maybe this choice, if my behavior says that I usually make this choice in that, but immense effort I put in to change my behavior, and let me come and do this interview. That changes my destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have put one more thing into momentum. I have put one more conversation into momentum. We don't know where it will reach.
True. Very true. You mentioned about karma, and I actually believe a lot in that as well. Can you tell me? Okay, I know with astrology, it's actually more about. Okay, I'm not sure much about it entirely, but you, the expert, you can actually correct me if I'm wrong. With astrology, it actually tells you your past. Does it also tell you the future as well? Because I know with karma, it can change according to your practice, your spiritual practices. Can you maybe tell us more about that?
Yeah. So that is what popularly astrology is used for, these days, to predict the future,
Mm.
but that is not how it was used for in the past. Okay, in the ancient past, from where these scriptures are coming from, where today we are learning Vedic astrology. What was it used for? It was used to understand yourself and your behaviors and your strengths and weaknesses and your scopes of improvement, and what drives our decisions. It is our belief system. It is our habit, right? So, can we predict future from astrology? Absolutely, because from an astrological chart, we'll be able to see that what is this person's most dominant behavior in various aspects of life. But how ancients used it, as I was saying, was to recognize their strengths and weaknesses, and they used to also use it health-wise in Ayurveda to understand the prakritis, that
Mm.
which element is needed or which thing is needed to be balanced in this person, so that this person can achieve the max that this person can in this life,
So
in
is
terms of health.
yeah. So with astrology, is it used to warn the person of what may transpire so they can take necessary steps in order to become healthier, if it's actually health wise, or it's more of a warning sign, and they can so it doesn't happen. They'll actually protect themselves. Is that
So
what astrology does?
I wouldn't say it's as sinister as warning. Yes, that is one aspect of it.
Mm.
But as I said, how it is, right? That there are certain fixed karmas also that we are born with. So if somebody, let's say, unfortunately is born with a hole in the heart,
Mm.
we can only work, we can only top that up. For example, we can only do whatever is required, medically possible that we know of right now.
Mhm.
Okay. But that hole in the heart situation is something that the person is born with. So what will you want of that person with? Like, what will you tell this person? Right?
Okay.
And let's be even more unfortunate that this person is born in a background where there is no money. That even though there might be a facility which can treat that, but there is no money.
Mhm.
That's this person's reality. Now what? So what will you do? What will we achieve by warning that person? So I wish it was that easy,
Mhm.
Vaishnavi, but it's more of a job of situations,
Mm.
and which is where no matter how hard I try or anybody tries to simplify the law of cause and effect, which is what karma is, it
Mm.
is very tough to simplify it and put it in words. After
Yeah.
all, in astrology, Mercury was
Mm.
debilitated in the 12th house, which is like it's not easy to put everything in words.
Yeah, but I mean, with karma, it can change. Okay, I know the fixed karma cannot change because it's fixed. It's like like the place that we were born and so forth.
So what I really mean is that if somebody has a flour batter, which is
Mm.
the fixed karma, flour batter is the fixed karma. One will make pizza out of it. The other will make chapati out of it. Someone else will make a tortilla out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, so as an astrologer, I can advise that listen, you're most likely to make a pizza, but this pizza will get burned. Okay. So here are your ingredients because the ingredients, let's say ingredients are also fixed. I suggest that instead of making this, can you try and make that? Now, again, it depends upon the person,
Mm.
whether they decide to do it or not, or whether, or if they will go to someone else and say, the pizza is going to get burned. Can you give me a remedy so that the pizza doesn't get burned?
I'm just getting a feel that it will actually instill more fear in you. The person wouldn't want to make the
Actually,
pizza.
it's very important the way you use it, which is the reason why I do not do predictive astrology yet. I
Mm.
do DNA.
Okay.
DNA astrology takes us back to the DNA as to what vasanas, what limiting patterns are you carrying in yourself. How can you make the best use of it? Like, how can you use them as opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
And what remedies can you do? What awareness can you come into to get yourself on the right path so that you can uh, meet your highest potential with
Okay.
relevant actions and karams?
Okay. Very interesting with karma and astrology. We can go on and on talking about
Absolutely.
this, but
In
I
fact,
know you also.
sorry, just to add here, speaking about the ancient times,
Mm.
astrology wasn't even available to the layman.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It used to be known by these really learned men and women. They were rishis and whose access mostly was there only to the kings and the queens. And
Mm-hmm.
why they used to approach these people for, let's say, even prediction was to say that what is going to be the possible weather situation in the time to come so that we can plan, let's say, for a famine or an earthquake or a storm,
Mm-hmm.
or that who are we likely to be invaded by so that I can heighten up the security in my area. That is how it was used, to strengths and weaknesses. Not
Okay.
that if I will get married to the queen of Rajasthan,
Mm-hmm.
tell me, or what remedy can I do to get married to the king of Jodhpur? That's not how it was used.
Okay, lovely. So times have changed as well because I think people are using it for the wrong reasons now. But
Absolutely.
yeah, but before you go on, can you maybe give us more of a brief understanding what is samskaras? Because we have a lot of Westerners listening to our podcast as well.
Right. So samskaras are basically the belief system, which is the actual English translation, the belief systems that we carry in ourselves, the values that we carry in ourselves,
Mm.
basis which we make decisions in our life.
Thank you so much, Neha. That was absolutely beautiful. I really, really love this conversation, and we have to do this again.
Absolutely. Looking back, we can always align our time. It's always good to connect with, and it is said in our scriptures also that when you know something, always make sure that you spread it, because knowledge, if it stays with you, it will die with you, and you will get the bad karma of uh, uh, killing wisdom. So, which I don't want to take. So, yes.
Wow, that is absolutely beautifully said. Thank you so much, and I also will keep that in mind, and I'll try my best to always spread wisdom.
Yeah.
So, we at the next part of our program, I actually started doing something a little different this season. It's just a few questions. Um, Three of them are actually one word answers, and the other one is more of a creative answer. It's according to you. Okay, are you ready?
Okay, let's try.
Okay, cool. So, can you give me one word that describes you?
Uh, okay. One word that describes me would be different.
Lovely. It's always good to be different. One word that you want to embody.
Embody empowerment.
Yes. Lovely.
Empowerment.
Beautiful. Okay. And one word that you want to see in this world. One word that actually describes the change you want to see in this world.
Understanding.
Beautiful. Okay. So now the interesting part. Okay. Just visualize this. You are stranded on a deserted island and you are given the opportunity to take only three things. So, what would those three things be?
Okay, so if I am stranded on an island and I can take only three things, I think I will take water.
Hmm.
I will take communication device which can work anywhere, so I can let them know, hello, I'm stranded.
I hope there's
Um,
communication signals there.
like, no, but see, that's the device, right? Technology that which can through which I can communicate anywhere.
Okay.
And and I think third thing that I would like to take is um, huh, I think something to eat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think something to eat till the time that rescue team comes.
Okay, good. Good. Very interesting. You must listen to the past answers that our guests had. Everyone was very different, and a lot of them did
Yeah.
say devices. It actually makes me realize that a lot of us we are attached to our device.
So for me, I would like to take a communication device so that I can communicate it to somebody that listen, I'm stranded,
Yeah.
I'm bored now, please come and collect me.
Yeah, that's true. It also makes me think about in the past when our families did not have what we have today. Because all of these things, it's.
Were living well. There wasn't that sort of a restlessness where one day used to go thinking, oh, why hasn't that person uh, texted me back?
Yes.
Or this person has gone for a party. I don't know. There's no way of communicating to them. I hope they come back safe. So there
Yeah.
was so much of restlessness which was not there. There
Yeah,
was a
that's
lot
so
of
true.
patience.
Yeah, that is so true. Okay.
People were ready to wait.
Yeah, yeah, times have changed. And but
Uh,
I always when I speak with my granny, she's about 93 years old. She'll be 94 next year. And I always ask her about her childhood when she was growing up, how life was then. And it seemed to me that they had less stress, although they had a lot of difficulties in the past, but they had no diseases like what we have today. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
They were a lot, they were a lot simple. And
Mm,
I am a generation which has seen that transition happening. Where at
mm,
my home we used to get these pure masalas, directly from some place I don't even remember, but those were pure masalas. and
Okay.
how food used to taste at that time
Uh-huh.
and how it tastes today. There's a drastic difference.
Wow.
Drastic
Wow.
difference.
Okay.
Yeah. So be it the best quality food, be it the best quality clothes also. Like today we live so much on synthetic clothes, which blocks the pores of our skin. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we dye for brands, but a lot of them are not organic,
Mm-hmm. That is so true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when the fashion capitalism happened, uh, uh, somehow we forgot that the quality of clothes that we were wearing.
Mm-hmm. Very
And
interesting.
today, not to judge anyone, I myself too, we live so much in AC. Let's say if it's hot, it's drying us. It's drying our skin. It's
Yeah.
creating more of vata,
Mm.
right? So there's a reason. The reason why these diseases are now is because of our lifestyle. And we might wonder that we aren't doing anything for it, but we are. We now these things have got habitual. Forget about us. I might still be able to live in a non-AC environment. I might crib a lot and whatever. But
Mm.
the kids who are just born, like these 1 or 2 year old kids,
Yeah.
they cannot live without devices. They cannot live without AC. They cannot live without, eating a McDonald's burger as a happy meal.
Yeah, true. Times have changed. Okay. So thank you so much for all of that beautiful information. Much needed as well. I also did something a little different this season where I asked my guests to recommend someone to be a part of our community because what I'm trying to do is create a holistic community where we all come together to collaborate and help
Hmm.
society to heal, to learn, to grow and basically move forward, advance and move forward. So my question to you is you actually come across many thought leaders and many change makers in your way of life, your lifestyle, and things like that. Do you have any guest recommendations for Mindful Trinities podcast? Yeah, like I said, any thought leaders or change makers, someone that would impact our community in a positive way.
Um, I mean, off the mind, as soon as you said that word, not that I have thought about it, but one person which comes to my mind is I know this yoga instructor. Her name is Chavi. I can send you her Instagram handle.
Okay.
Uh, the way she's doing the yoga stuff, but the way she uh, gives out that information is very new age. It is very understandable. It is very creative. I think she recently got some award for being one of the best creators as well.
Mm,
So one is to have the wisdom, which I always say, and the other is to make it interesting. You remember we were speaking about stories and stuff.
yeah.
So that just shows on how intelligent a person can be.
Mm,
So maybe she is somebody I would recommend to you.
okay. I'll get in touch with her and let's see. Hopefully, she does agree to be a part of our community.
So,
Okay. And lastly, okay, nearly to the end now. Do you have any parting thoughts for us? Something that we can maybe meditate on?
right. So I would just like to say that we are in the advent of a day and age where information is very easily available for us. While it is very easily available, it comes from all sort of backgrounds. It is very important for all of us to now develop a sense of discernment,
Mm,
which comes into picture where availability is not the problem, but what you are giving your energy to can make or break. So 2022 is around the corner. I'm not very sure when you will release this, but I'm sure it will be either towards 2021 end or 2022 beginning.
mhm.
2022 is the number which which accumulates to a number 6, which is the Venusian number. And Venus is all about luxuries. It's all about a sense of bliss. As per astrology and as per ancient understanding, highest form of bliss comes from a sense of putting yourself at the right time at the right place, where again a sense of discernment plays a large part. So it seems like so earlier also like the way we discussed about Amal Clooney, do not be blinded by someone else or anyone for that matter. Pick up only that which serves you. Everybody, including me, including anyone else, we all have our plus points and our negative points. Just because we admire someone doesn't mean that we have to admire them in totality.
Mm.
We can admire them. We can admire something in them which grows us only as well. So have a very strong sense of discernment. That's what I
Beautiful.
would like to end with.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the beautiful share. I always love hearing from you because you have so much of wisdom to share. And like you said, it's nice to share it with people because I think when people share wisdom, they can also learn. I think the best teachers are those that share. So thank you for being that person. Yeah.
It
Okay.
means a lot. Thanks for inviting me once again.
Much appreciated. And I'm very grateful that, yeah, you actually accepted the invite. It did take a little while, just a little, not too much. But challenge is also good. It inspires us to never give up.
Absolutely. And this had to happen. This had to happen now. It was in divine timing. And here we are because when it did happen, it just happened like in a minute, in a day, I
Yes.
think.
Yes, that is so true. And we have to do it again, but we'll chat offline.
Absolutely. Okay.
Where yes, where can our listeners find you? I know you're on Instagram, but tell us more. And I will share your links in on the different platforms that I'm on, so people can basically find you.
Sure. My Instagram handle is Neha Goyal. It is NEHAAGOYAL. You can also find me on my YouTube channel. It's called Neha Goyal Dream Reading. Neha is with a double A. And I have a website too. It's called nehagoyal.exly app, EXLY app.com. And yes, I'm on Facebook too as Neha Goyal Dream Reading. And I'll send you all the links whenever you are publishing this. You can put them over there. So read the description, everyone.
Thank you so much. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, thank you to our viewers. If this podcast resonated with you, give us a like, a share, and yeah, just share it with like hearted souls. You never know who may need your help. And also leave us a review so that other like hearted individuals can connect with us. We are all about healing and creating a better society, healthy society where we can be happier living in. Like I mentioned as well, that healed people heal people. So we should all get together, collaborate collectively, and heal so we can also heal people. Sending you loads of love and positive vibrations from my heart to yours. Bye bye. Hello, beautiful people. As always, thank you so much for your love and your support throughout my journey. Thank you to those that already purchased a copy of my book. For those of you that are having struggles in getting a copy of the book, please go onto my website, which is www.mindfultrinity.co.za, and go under offerings and schedule. You will see journaling for inner wellness. Click onto that. It'll take you to the page where I've included information on the book. So if you want to read on this before clicking on order now, you could do so. I've got information on the book and the benefits of journaling, also the clubs that you can join where we will be journaling once a week on a Sunday at 7 p.m. South African Standard Time. And you can click on order now. It'll take you to the Amazon page. And if you want to see what's in the book, click on look inside and it'll take you to the book itself. It gives you a preview of the book itself. So like you can see here, it's abundance of love, gratitude, and happiness in one book. You could also include your name on the book so you know the book belongs to you. So the words that I've used in this book is all mindful words. It helps us to keep track of everything that we do, from our thoughts to our words to our actions to the foods that we eat and the water intake. So I included gratitude in the book as well, and learnings from the week. Like I said, this is a weekly journal where you'll be journaling once a week. But if you're one person that loves journaling on a daily basis, you could also do so. But this book is designed specifically for someone that is busy and they do not have time to write every day. But I can tell you this, say for instance you actually want to write that you're grateful on a daily basis. On a Monday you could put, I'm grateful for my shelter. I've got a loving home and loving parents. 2, you could write, I'm grateful for the fresh air that I breathe. 3, you can write, I'm grateful for a healthy body and mind. So every day you write just one thing that you're grateful for instead of 3 things on the same day. And like you see here, there's only 3 lines that I've included. So if you want to include more things, you could get a separate book where you can write that. Unfortunately, the publishing company only allowed me a certain number of pages in order to write this, and this is my first book, so it's also trial and error for me as I go along. I'm sure the next book will be even better than this, but I'm so grateful to all of you for all of your love and support. Without you, this would not have been possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you go onto my website again, and you'll go to the sections where I mentioned Journal with Us, you would notice we'll be journaling on Clubhouse and on our Facebook group once a week on a Sunday at 7 o'clock South African Standard Time. If you click on this link here, it'll take you to Clubhouse, and you click here, it'll take you to Facebook. Once you actually clicked on Clubhouse, and if you're not part of Clubhouse as yet, you can get it on the App Store or Google Store, and you can be a part of the group or the club. So the Facebook, same situation, nothing different, but just that it's a different group of people on there. Okay, so I'm very grateful to all of you once again, and looking forward to being on this journey with you, with lots of love from my heart to yours. Don't forget to get your book. Bye bye.